Today's AskReddit post. Serious, which celebrity has done horrible things, but it's swept under the rug? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. Terrence Howard. Usually people think he's just a bit crazy because of his weird version of math. But the more alarming thing about him is that he's a serial domestic abuser, which is why he got cut from Marvel. No, he didn't get screwed over. I'm so glad they replaced him with Don Cheadle. I hope there's nothing secretly awful about him too. CeeLo Green's lawyer said he couldn't be guilty of rape because the woman was passed out, so she couldn't say no. He is still out walking around. Even turns up on award shows and poop. Holy poop, yikes, lawyer doesn't know what rape is. WTF, I can't believe that. Lawyer knew he's grasping at straws because he has nothing. The client wants him to fight, and he has a fat retainer. Not exactly swept under the rug, but I can't believe Chris Brown still has a career. I think a lot of people must not have read the full police report of what happened, and maybe don't realize how bad that poop actually was. It was brutal. I don't get how he still has a career either. The photos are truly horrifying, and most people haven't seen them. Wyclef Jean and his fake charities. Didn't he date Lauryn Hill when she was 14? One time. To quote the Beast is the new style. If I played guitar I'd be Jimmy Page, the girlies I like are underage. Check it. Page had a 14-year-old girlfriend stay with him at Peak Zep, and by all accounts Peter Grant, their manager, was an even bigger piece of poop, kinda like Elvis' 13-year-olds. Arthur Freed. When interviewing Shirley Temple, evidently he unzipped his pants and exposed himself to her. I never actually saw any of Temple's shows or whatnot. However, I heard she endured awful abuse, and her shows had very inappropriate connotations, as well as groping the little child. Pedophilia was rampant even back in the early 30s. They just got better at hiding it. I heard Judy Garland went through a lot of poop too. People talk a lot about Anthony Kiedis' biography Admission to Banging Minors, but I definitely remember flipping through Keith Richards' biography and mentioning the same thing, and I like meeting her parents in their house, and never heard it mentioned somehow. Steven Seagal is a rapist. He also decided to play act as a cop and drove a tank into someone's house and killed their dog. He then detained a woman and possibly intercourseally assaulted her. Now he hangs out in Russia carrying G-water for Putin. He beat the hell out of his wife, Kelly, one day. It was bad. She was scared to press charges. Minaj could apparently cuddle a rapist and abuse his victim, and Noon gave a poop until she called herself out over a single lyric and supported her brother who raped a child. Tommy Lee from Mötley Crüe literally confesses to rape and abuse of women in the dirt, so twice with the audiobook recording. Served time for it, and by Bobby Brown's account he abused and violently raped her too. Pick basically any rock band from the 80s and *ATLEASG*, one member will be a pedo/rapist, and it's typically never talked about. The age of consent is a joke for guys in a band in that era. Everyone forgets John Hamm hospitalized a fraternity pledge in his frat and resulted in the frat being shut down. From Wikipedia, Hamm lit the pledge's jeans on fire, shoved his face in the dirt, and struck him with a paddle. The pledge required medical care and ultimately withdrew from school. The incident resulted in the fraternity being shut down. I think this might be the only one I've seen so far where I didn't dislike the person already. Made it further than I thought I would. Anthony Kiedis literally put in his autobiography that he knowingly committed statutory rape. I saw a paparazzi picture of him yesterday with his 20-year-old girlfriend and thought, yep, he hasn't changed, he's just making sure it's legal now. A lot of athletes, if you're successful enough, people just ignore it. I love the SNL skit where they have the NFL players introduce themselves by what crimes they committed. It's hilarious, including the kicker going, tax fraud. Roman Polanski. Dude got standing ovations at the Oscars. Sick. Tells you all you need to know about the world of Hollywood and the world's elite. Mark Wahlberg has quite the history, even being jailed for a hate crime. Mark Wahlberg committed so much racial harassment as a teenager that his victims received a civil injunction. I've got to imagine that local Boston TV had ads like, if you or a loved one have been verbally or physically assaulted by Marky Mark, you may qualify. It's hard to believe at one point he wanted his record expunged so he could become a police officer. Don Henley of the Eagles. His solo song Dirty Laundry is about how mean the press was to him when a teenage girl he'd been raping overdosed and died at his house, and he claimed that the drugs she OD'd on were hers to avoid drug charges. I hate the ducking Eagles. Man. If you don't like my ing music, get your own ing cab. Andy Dick was the one who caused Phil Hartman's wife to relapse in her addiction, which ultimately ended with her murdering him. In 2006, he also approached Jon Lovitz in a restaurant and said, "I put the Phil Hartman hex on you. You're the next one to die." Didn't Jon Lovitz beat the poop out of him for that? I often cackle thinking about having to be the guy going through life knowing Jon Lovitz kicked your ass. Caitlyn Jenner killed someone. Still gets more poop than Matthew Broderick for doing the same thing. I'm never sure what people want out of this one. Something like 90% of deadly auto accidents are at fault. But we don't typical jail drivers who make fatal errors unless we can show gross negligence. In this case there is only one surviving witness, and she thinks Broderick erroneously thought he was on the wrong side of the road. Emma Roberts literally beat Evan Peters, but it's always overlooked by her fans or proclaimed mutual abuse. OMG, I ducking forgot about this. Disgusting. Ted Nugent. He's a pedophile who doesn't seem to mind people knowing. One of his songs is literally called Jailbait, and these are real lyrics from it. Well, I don't care if you're just 13. You look too good to be true. I just know that you're probably clean. There's one little thing I got due to you. He also poaches animals and now owns one of those places where people can hunt animals in a fenced-in area. Not to mention that he's fully in support of war, but got out of the draft by poopting himself. He's from near where I grew up, and a lot of people idolize him there. The people I personally know who have met him have said he's a huge ass, though. Also, he assaulted Courtney Love as a teenager. Tom Cruise. He's effectively been the public face of a profoundly abusive cult for what? 2 decades now? But no one cares when a new movie comes out. Almost 3 decades if I recall. Tiger. How has he not been fully cancelled? He's a literal pedophile. Mark Wahlberg beat and blinded a Vietnamese guy just because he was Vietnamese. Boy George beat a guy with a metal chain after cuffing him to a radiator. NBA Hall of Famer Karl Malone raped a teenager. Jared Leto's been accused of rape by half a dozen teenage girls as well. Emma Roberts beat the poop out of her then boyfriend Evan Peters, then continued to co-star in the same show as him. Charlie Sheen once had unprotected intercourse with his girlfriends when he has HIV. Boy George abducted and tortured a man in 2007. Chris Brown. First one that came to mind. Maybe in his case it wasn't swept under the rug, but only because he beat up his GF who happened to be a megastar, and they were supposed to go to the Grammys that night. Pretty sure if either of these factors hadn't been present, no one would have known about it, or at least not for longer than a day. BTW, in case anyone hasn't seen the full extent of his assault on Rihanna, there's a transcript somewhere on the web and it's disturbing. Never mind that since then he's beaten up another girlfriend and a bunch of other people. He just beats up everyone. Basically, doesn't seem like anyone cares. He should be rotting in jail. Instead he's selling out concerts. Ozzy. He's cheated on, beaten, and attempted to murder his wives. He's also a cat serial killer, both before and after his anti-declawing ad for Peter. Eric Clapton. He also admitted to raping his wife, It's even on his Wikipedia page, but for some reason people don't seem to be aware of it. During a 1999 interview with the Sunday Times, Clapton admitted to raping and abusing her while they were married, and he was a full-blown alcoholic who felt entitled to intercourse. Jared Leto, Nicki Minaj. The list is endless, I'm sure. They just popped into my head right away. Naomi Campbell used to beat up her personal assistants. A plane had to make an emergency landing because she attacked the crew and tried to get into the cockpit after finding out her luggage had been temporarily lost. Refused to testify against an African ex-prime minister who was being charged with genocide who had given her a lot of jewelry. She was forced into testifying and did so under obvious resentment of having to be there, and was later believed to have given dishonest testimony. I think there's a few other things, but those are the worst that I can remember off the top of my head. It's suspected Robert Warner killed Natalie Wood, or at least let her die, when she fell overboard after she caught him sleeping with Christopher Walken. Again, it's not even a secret anymore that Bryan Singer is a pedophile, but he keeps getting work. Scary to think what occurred on the set of Usual Suspects between him and Spacey. Jim Carrey gave his ex-girlfriend a bunch of STDs without telling her, and she ended up killing herself over it. People still actively defend Roman Polanski and Woody Allen for their poop. People like Wes Anderson, David Lynch and Del Toro have signed the Polanski petition. Fucking disgusting and disappointing to say the least. ***Roman Polanski***. Crime and conviction. ***Roman Polanski, a renowned film director, fled the United States in 1978 after pleading guilty to unlawful intercordial intercourse with a 13-year-old girl. Despite an international warrant for his arrest, he has continued to direct films in Europe, winning awards and accolades. Hidden details. ***The full extent of the assault and the victim's trauma were not widely reported initially. Focus was often placed on Polanski's career achievements, creating a narrative that downplayed the severity of his crime. James Marsden wrote a witness of character letter in defense of Brian Peck for his trial. I haven't heard a peep about it. There were others too, but James Marsden surprised me in particular. For those who don't know, Brian Peck was a pedophile employed by Nickelodeon who was convicted of violently and repeatedly intercorsally assaulting at least one child star working for the network. He went on to work with Disney afterwards. Addenskneder. Guy made such inappropriate skits for children. I couldn't even look into all the details about Nickelodeon. WTF man. Jackie Chan had an affair and then abandoned the daughter of said affair. Wasn't present in her life at all. She ended up homeless in Canada last I heard. That's so sad. I hope she's okay. I had one of my black friends tell me that the different reactions to Oj's death showed there are still two racial Americas in 2024. The murderer murdered his ex-wife and her friend, and then wrote a book called If I Did It. Seinfeld. Dating a 17-year-old. James Franco also messaging/dating underage girls. The fact that Bill Cosby ever got out of jail, even on a technicality, is absolutely ridiculous. Kobe Bryant the rapist. His death really resulted in everyone forgetting that yeah. Didn't even take that. He changed his number and everyone forgot. Bill Wyman admitted having intercourse with his then 14-year-old girlfriend Mandy Smith. Remember when John Landis killed Vic Morrow and 2 children, and then skated because he was a huge director and has a son Maximum who has been accused of intercordial assault by several women. Jared Leto. If there's one actor that makes actively avoid a movie, it's Jared Leto. He's like the anti-Tim Curry. There's a couple actors that will automatically make me give it a try or skip it. Paul Walker ducked kids. But if you like the Bald Man's Car movies, apparently he's a saint. Rest in pieces. Bozo. Fucking finally. I never could wrap my head around why people loved him so much. But that is a nice dream crusher fact to drop on people that don't know it, ha. Chris Brown. He did the same thing again to another woman. How the duck is he still famous? Jared Depardieu was convicted of gang rape when he was a teen and then recently, 2 years ago, had new charges of intercordial assault brought against him by a Spanish journalist. John Travolta did Battlefield Earth. George Lopez divorced his wife right after she donated her kidney to him. Logan Paul making fun of the Japanese suicide victim. Marilyn Manson and most of the people around him. Did everyone forget about Eddie Murphy possibly murdering the trans woman he picked up in WeHo at 4:30 in the morning? Maybe Ray Lewis murdering a dude at party? What about Diddy? People seem to forget about his ass real quick. I can go in with billionaires, but I'm not looking to get drone strike today. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.